Hey, folks, it's Lindsey Huddleston with SPS back in the building. That's right, for another SPS Edge Show. Got my guys back. I was out here solo dolo last week rocking. I was waiting for Terry to chime in. I was waiting for Orlando to chime in. I missed my brothers. How y'all doing, man?
Good. Doing all right.
Good. Glad to have y'all back. I know Terry was going through some major contract negotiations. Man, he holding our feet to the fire. Terry's like, man, you better come with that bag or I'll be somewhere else. But Terry, we know you had a great trip, and we'd love to hear more about what you were experiencing just recently. There was some people checking for you. In particular, some lady was like, "Where's Sexy Terry at?" I promise you, she said that. Hey, Orlando, Terry is our eye candy. He's
the young eye candy.
The young eye candy. You equivalent of a male ring model that walks around the ring like this. You're our male version of it. I say that with all due respect. I know this is a family oriented show. Orlando, how you doing, man? I know you all about saving the world. We don't see your cape, but you about saving the world. Detroit and Michigan and all through. How you doing, man?
I am doing all right. A bit tired. Good to be back on. It's been a rough few weeks, but we're back.
Yeah, man, we've been making it, man. But I so appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate all our great followers and whatnot. But again, we got another great show, and I got even more appreciation for the lineup that we had now that my crew is back. So without any further ado, let's get into something that I put out yesterday. That was an interesting thing that took place just recently in Michigan. A young man scored 17, I think he scored 16 of the 17 goals in soccer for a high school soccer game. And I put that out on social media. I want to thank all my social media followers from chiming in. I reached out to my guy, my consigliere, Rod Wilson, Mr. Wilson, as you call him, Terry, to get his people. And I got to be honest, from my guy Bill Jackson to, a number of people who shared, Joseph Ely, all my folks, Reggie Austin, Reggie, your former teammate was sharing. And it was a very interesting perspective. Eham, Reggie, Reg Vaughn, my guy. It was an interesting perspective, Orlando, because we all know as coaches, and Terry, you got a coach's hat that you wore. You had your time coaching as well. It's so many ways to look at it, but I'll lead with this. I remember when the great Southwestern High School with Howard Isley, now assistant coach at University of Michigan, former NBA guy, Voshan Leonard. Shout out to Vo, not only at Minnesota playing in the NBA, but I used to play with Vo out at Dearborn at the fire department, the police department out in Dearborn, Orlando, big fella. And, of course, Jalen Rose, man, when Southwestern High School came into Henry Ford High School in 1992, Terry, when they came in the gym, they were a nationally ranked high school basketball team. They were one of the only teams, Orlando, if you remember, that was a Nike sponsored team. Now we see Nike, everywhere all the time, like it ain't nothing. They were like, those Nike checks. But here's the thing that's crazy. When I say they were so big, Terry, that the gym got dark when they came in. What? They were such a big team. I promise you that. I remember getting tunnel vision because they just took up so much space. And with that, so did that scoreboard. I don't know what the score was, man, but them boys popped us. Now, I'll let Terry go with this. The thing that people are saying is that, when you got a great team, you're doing so well, eventually you're supposed to take your foot off the gas. There's this gentleman agreement, whatever. But the one question I'll pose to you, Terry, you can feel free to talk about any part of this topic is, at what point is it on the coach to say enough? Or should it really be on the player to say, I've scored enough, I'm done? What do you think about that?
I think it would just be the competitor in me. If I know I'm going against somebody and I can easily get 15, 20, 40 on them, it's not really as satisfying, really, when I know I can just get it easy on them. I think nowadays, for instance, when Ohio State played Maryland this past week, they're throwing the backups in third quarter, one, to just get some extra guys in. But then two, it's it's no mercy, and that's your opponent. But at the same time, act like you've been there before, one. And then two, it's I'm here before, but that's my opponent. I understand the competitiveness, to want to go out there and hang 100 on your opponent.
There you go, Ryan Day. We're going to hang 100 on him.
At a certain point, though, as a competitor, it's it'd be equivalent for me going against eighth graders. I know I can put 50 on them, but it's okay, we get you're that dude, but get ready and put that. I get you want to put your best product out there, but at the same time, as a competitor in me and playing against somebody who's not as good, it's not really that appealing for me to be like, yo, I just scored 16 points, 16 goals on the worst team in the league. It's like, okay, like dudes probably did about the same, or if not, maybe a little less on that same team. So the competitor in me is like, well, I want to put out my best today, but I'm really getting better for the next team that's better than them. I'm always thinking about the next team. It's not like relishing, oh, I'm going to hang 20 goals on them. It's like, that's cool, but that's probably one of the worst teams in the league. Like, how impressive is that really? You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing. I was going to say one word, but I got 2 words. One word for you, Orlando, is context, and I'll elaborate on that in a second. But to your point, Terry, great point. But you said it, the league.
Yeah.
They are in your league. They are on your schedule. Shout out to my guy, Brandon Peoples, athletic director over at Crystal Ray. Got love for B. He made a good point. He's like, man, you put him on the schedule. You know,
That's true.
So in the word context, I'll go to you, Orlando. And it's not, and this happens in all communities, but shout out Detroit Public Schools. And I say context because if something had been said, if something happened prior to, if there was a back and forth, a la a hanger 100 on them, the context is everything. If somebody on that team was popping off, if one of the coaches had a grudge or something. So Orlando, I use the word context, and I ask you, how much does that play into it? But as a coach, as someone who's you know, your actual fiber is a part of this game, you know, what do you think about that? You know, bad sport or bad defense? What do you say?
I mean, for me, I want to start one with the media, because it seems like there's a rule. We have to have that one story. We have the same story every year. You know, it may float to a different sport, but then we thought, oh my God, they beat it. You know, basketball. I think one year was Persian.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Every year. The point is, and I have been on both ends of it. I have been the whooper, and I have been the whoopee. Yeah. So, you know, and speaking from that, and I know being, you know, an older coach, I think right now, I'm the longest tenured coach in DPS right now.
Really?
I've been around a long time. I think I am, come to think of it. But the point is, I see a lot of the younger guys, the younger coaches feel that they have something to prove. Yeah. So they're going to give it to you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because they have something to prove.
Yeah.
You know, the other coaches, you know, I myself, when I've been on the good end of the stick, and that's that time. And I'm always a person to believe I got to prepare for the future. I'm emptying out my bench and I'm working on my game during those periods. And to be quite honest, Terry, there are some times where I've gone to the end of the bench, and it's still whooping to be had. You know, it's nothing that you can really do.
Well, I think those are the stories that don't make it to. That's not the parent contacting the AD, contacting the school board. I'm going to stay with this. Your star player is still in there. And I don't know if he played to the end, but what if he scored, you know, 16 goals before the half? I mean, at what point, you know, do we say enough is enough? Quick example.
Can I give you an example real quick?
Please.
And this happened a few years ago, and this is when I was on the other end of it, and it was in a state district. And we had the other coach actually put in his starting 5. They were up by 30 on us. He put in his starting 5 with about 4 minutes to go. Younger guy, we're screaming at him, look, man, you know, enough's enough. You're in the state districts. You're ready to take that next step. Do you really want to take that chance of one of your players getting hurt?
I can see where this is going, Terry.
And within the next minute, his starting guard, who was truly his best player, went down.
Wow.
With an ankle injury.
So let's stay with that. Let me ask you that. Let's talk about the psychology of a coach making that decision. That's why I use the word context. Is that because somebody was woofing off? I mean, what is the backstory to determine that? And I use the example. Baseball is probably the best known sport for the unofficial rules. They're probably like a rule book in baseball, but the unofficial rule book in baseball is probably bigger and thicker than that. So my question becomes, look at when the late, great Kobe Bryant dropped 81 on Jalen Rose, actually. Mm-hmm. Phil set him down in the 3rd. Phil Jackson set him down. So let's be honest. Kobe could have scored, could have beat Wilt's record that night.
Correct.
He could have beat. So let me ask you, was it even right for Phil to sit him down and say that's enough? You know, are you holding back greatness? Why would you stop the streak? You know, an argument could be made that Phil was hating on Kobe. He didn't want Kobe to break his Wilt Chamberlain's record.
Phil was chasing a championship, not individual records.
Okay,
and that's why he sat him down.
So enough is enough.
Right.
So that's the context. That's the context. So let me ask this going further before we get off this. Do you think this is more of an issue because of the emboldenedness that some parents have? Because the article wasn't written from a kid's perspective. It was written from the perspective of some adult taking offense to what was going on. As so many of my people said, Miles Miller, my guy said, if you don't want, say stop him from scoring. If it's gonna be a problem, like how do you deal with it? Don't let him score.
I tell you, my whole thing is, and what I told the kids, because I've, in recent years, I've had, and I hate to say it, I've had 2 winless seasons within the past 5 years, which is strange. I went from a Final Four in DPS to a winless season, back to 500, back to a winless season. And then the point is that as a coach, you want to play the best to become the best. And the point that I try to teach my kids is the first step in truly becoming a champion is learning how to be a loser. How to take that loss, learn from it, and get better. And if that coach on the other end cannot get that lesson through, shame on him. They need to go get another coach.
I told somebody that the best way to get a team's attention is get your head cracked. Look at what happened with the Dream Team, and whether they say the late great Chuck Daly threw the game, but when that American Dream Team lost to them college players, that did it. And it's character building. I think the worst thing you can do is try to shield a kid from that, because it brings a level of reality.
Absolutely.
Right. You know what I'm saying? It brings, like, if you getting popped 69-3 or something like that, yeah, it may be embarrassing, but who are we to stop a kid from being embarrassed? We ain't talking about being drugged to the mud, Terry. We ain't talking about, your private parts being exposed or something horrific. You are competing in sport, and you're getting bested. So I'm not really big on. It's such an unwritten rule about what's right and what's wrong, or as they say, the Supreme Court says, pornography. You know it when you see it, but it's like, at what point do you say, hey, y'all got popped compared to we did too much? But I guess what? Guess who's always the one defining what too much is? The team that lost.
Right?
Yeah.
The team that lost. Jerry, what you think before we get off this subject, man? What you got for us?
Nah, losing big always is a character builder. But the only way that I could really excuse, having a guy or a team play their starters for a longer period of time, which they do in college football sometimes, is like, say the week before your offense kind of underperformed, or there wasn't a connection that they felt was there with the play calling, or, the quarterback and center didn't have that connection with the line. You know what I mean? I that's the only real reason. That's mainly in football. I know a lot of times they'll keep the starters in there just to get a couple series, because as an offensive play caller, you coming in against teams who aren't really on your level, but they're on your schedule, you want to come in, perfect series on offense, come in, get a drive, let's score. Let's complete a third down. Let's complete a long first down play. There are like play calling schemes that they come out with and have good series. So a lot of times, like a Ryan Day will keep Justin Fields out there a little bit longer just to see him complete that full series circuit of creating big plays, making good catches with Olave and Wilson, just to make his team feel a little bit better and feel a lot more.
I love working them Ohio State players in there.
Yeah,
I just know.
Always.
I just know because that was like, he was the perfect example though.
I'm messing with you, Terry. I ain't see you in a week, baby boy. I got to mess with you.
But I mean, at the same time though, the team on the opposite side has to learn that, hey, we got to be better. At a certain point, you got to think as a competitor by taking the loss. Okay, that's what it looks like to be really good. That's what it takes to be the best team in the league. As a competitor, I'm taking it back to the whiteboard, looking, okay, what can I do to take from them beating us down to try and get on that level? Because like you said, they're in the same league, so they're gonna see each other again. Is it gonna be the same whooping, or is it gonna be where y'all keep make it competitive, where y'all lose by maybe 2 or 3 goals? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just kind of take it back to the drawing board.
And you make the point that I was trying to get at, man. Sports is cyclical. Not only could you see this person again, but so many times you have a program that's up and down. I mean, it come back around. So if you want to go ahead and put 16 goals up on my team, I'm gonna remember that.
Yeah.
And when my opportunity comes, we trying to hang 20 on you. You feel me?
Yeah. And it happens. It happens. You are absolutely right, Lindsay. I've done it. I've been
James Franklin and Mark
over and over again. And I've spent the summers in gym just waiting to get back to that opponent.
Yeah, I mean, you got the quote of the day so far. I've been the whooper and the whoopee.
Yeah. I'll give you a perfect example. Mark D'Antonio, I was at this game. It was when James Franklin was just getting in the mix, and it was at Sparty Stadium. I can't remember the lineman's name, but he's been a senior there. He was a senior. He was a captain. They gave him a touchdown. And James Franklin didn't really take too fond of that. They were like, oh, they're trying to run up the score. They're trying to let everybody get one in, right? So come to find out, I think this was the 3-9 year with Mark D'Antonio. It was a down year for Michigan State. They played in Happy Valley. Penn State kind of did the same scenario where they let a guy, he's been in the program for a while. Oh, let's try to get him a touchdown. Same scenario. And they zoomed right in on Mark D'Antonio's face. Both coaches. James Franklin just looking like, yep. And Mark D'Antonio just looking like, seriously, dude.
Yeah, but you know what, though? It's almost like the Michael Jordan paranoia effect. You're gonna look for a reason to justify doing it. You're like, man, them hot dogs was extra $2 this year, so we go hang one on y'all. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it goes like that, you know. But
personal.
Yeah, I would just say at the end of the day, these are great discussions to have. At the end of the day, I kind of side on the side of, hey. If you let them do it to you, so be it. They are not required to take a star player out. And to Orlando's point, you run the risk of something happening. And the last question I'll ask, they said that soccer match ended up breaking state and potentially national records. My question is, does an asterisk go by that? Because at the end of the day, he still had to score the goal. That's like saying a kid put up, a lot of points against an inferior opponent. He still had to put the basket in the hole. I mean, the ball in the basket. You feel me?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, at the end of the day, you still gotta get the buckets. You still gotta score the touchdown. You still gotta kick the goals. But I wouldn't say there's an asterisk next to it. I would just let them have the record. But I think what makes sports so fun with experts like us, we get to critique that and say like, oh man, they played the worst team. That team is 0-5 right now. I think that's what makes sports so fun, is where we get so many perspectives where we get to say, oh, that's an asterisk next to it because they played against a terrible team. Or we could be like, oh, that kid is so good. He scored 16. Heck yeah, give him the record. Man, put it on a pedestal of him being the best player in America, all that stuff. That's what just makes sports so fun. But my personal opinion, I just let the kid have the record because, look, that's something he worked hard for. Whether he did it in the right way or not, everybody has their own opinion. But, hey, he still scored the goals. They won 17-0.
That's my thing. There's no question. The kid did it the right way. It was a legal game. It was ref. There should be no question mark to the record whatsoever. Now, if you question that, then you have to question every record in the books.
Yeah.
Leading scorer in basketball. Oh, well, the guy that was checking them had the flu that night, so we got to put an asterisk next to that.
There we go.
I agree.
Well, this is going to be an open-ended question. At the time, I want to thank our sponsors. Got to shout out my guy, Horatio Williams. We'll get a chance to hang out with my guy Ace tomorrow. Shout out to the Horatio Williams Foundation. We appreciate you, all that you do, and all you do to support the show. Gilead Sciences as well. We had an awesome mental health roundtable at the Horatio Williams Foundation that was sponsored by them, and also the Dick's Sporting Goods as well. We're going to keep moving through the show. If I have my music playing, I'll play one of my favorite tracks of all time. It's called Return of the Mac. But this case, I'll say, Ben is back. Ben is back. Or what's that Rick Ross song? Tupac back. Ben is back. Could you believe it that after all this, Ben Simmons showed up and is now back and you know what? And we'll get to another topic in a second. That's that Kyrie. But Kyrie showing his ass so much that Ben coming back, and people like, we ain't even tripping on you.
No, it's not. It's not even a story now.
Orlando, what you think about Ben Simmons coming back into the fold with the Philadelphia 76ers?
Well, I was kind of hoping that the Pistons would get a hold of him, but it's a good thing to see. It's surprising to me, but I
Why is it surprising? Because of how far it seemed they were away from each other?
Yeah. I thought it was a relationship that really couldn't be repaired. But we'll see, how it goes.
Let me ask you this, and Terry, you can think about this while you're on deck. What kind of season do you see Ben Simmons having? Mediocre, stellar, or amazing?
Man, it's such a hard question. I think with Ben Simmons, the first thing that comes to my mind with his situation was kind of with the A-Rod situation in Green Bay, just with the guy holding out, not happy about the situation, and then ultimately coming back. Granted, Ben Simmons
always come back, don't they? They always come back.
They always come back because they know they're gonna lose a ton of money to fines. Because there's something in the blueprint. Always the NBA and the NFL.
Did these teams really want Ben Simmons? Do you think was there a real play for Ben Simmons?
I think there was real interest.
I think there was interest, and I think what makes these two situations so different is that A-Rod has been successful with the Packers and has earned their trust. I don't think Ben Simmons has earned the support of the fans of Philly all the way. I think he had that one season where he won Rookie of the Year, arguably, but I don't think that, and that's part of the reason. I don't think that Ben Simmons has fully earned the trust of the Philadelphia 76er fans, just based off the fact that one, he hasn't shown up in playoff games, and two, he's like showing where he needs more of his mental, where he needs to be mentally tougher by sitting out, by kind of when all the criticism and all that. Same thing with Giannis, got all that criticism. Giannis took it to another level and played better. Ben Simmons sat out. Oh, he wants to be traded. He wants to be here. Philly took that as quitting. Philly is a tough city, brotherly love.
Thank you. Fickle Philly. Them some fickle fans. Shout out to Rod Wilson jumping. He said he still need a jumper. Also, perfect segue. Ballers Page is in the building. What's up, Ballers Page? He said, would y'all trade Ben Simmons for Kyrie Irvin? I think Ben gonna have a killer season. Okay, Ballers, you got to stay with us throughout this season. We want you to keep reminding us that you said it. We want to give you your props if that's the case. You know what? We're going to talk about Kyrie in a moment, but here's the thing I need you guys to help with me as my friends and my professional colleagues. I'm very torn about Kyrie because as a sports psychology consultant, I see myself as being called by the Brooklyn Nets jumping on the jet and shooting there to help him. So I can't talk about him like I would if we was just in the gym on the court because I got to see how do we figure this out. But the other side, to Baller Page's point, would I trade him? I would say no. I would say that Ben Simmons at this point has more of a salvageable. I'm trying to say salvage, but I'm having trouble. Like I done had a long night or something. But you can salvage things in a better situation with Ben Simmons because Kyrie, what we got into Kyrie is we got a PR issue. I would say it's close to being a PR crisis because of the subject matter that involved so many other people compared to that. Baller Page is responding by saying he's going to be hungry, especially if he goes to the Nets. Ben will be traded. I think probably so. Roderick Wilson says, we've been down this road. KD squashed that trade, supposedly. Oh, yeah, okay, we're going to see leading up to it. Orlando, what do you think, man? I mean, we're talking about Ben Simmons, man, or Ben for Kyrie, but just, I don't know. What's your overall take on this?
I think if he lasts, I think he's going. He has something to prove right now, so I think he's going to have that solid season. Now, whether and again we look back whether he's going to show in the playoffs or anything else, that's yet to be seen. I don't think so. I think you'll have the repeat performance.
Well, I'm not making a shameless plug for myself, but I will make a shameless plug for my type of services. He needs somebody to be there to help him.
Yeah.
If they cannot go back and it be just the same, he needs to get new processes. He needs to get new things to respond to whatever his triggers are. He needs to get whatever type of support he can. And I hope that whether they have someone in-house or here's my big push, and I tell this to all the people in this community, athletes need to hire their own sports psychologists.
Yeah.
You do not need to rely on these teams. Now, let me say this. These individuals who become vetted and go on and work for these teams, men and women, are absolutely outstanding in their particular profession. I get that. But at the end of the day, people need to be reminded that this person works for the team. The team is their client. So when it comes down to it, should I keep Terry? Should I let Orlando go? They're going to make a decision that's in the best interest of the team. If you have a sports psychologist, a sports psychology consultant that is your person, they're your advocate. That's and as much money as they spend on, their personal things, their trainers, their chefs, that's the investment they need to make. Terry, what do you think about that in general as we talk about Ben before we transition to KD, Kyrie, and James Harden?
That's such a good point because we got to remember the person that hires the team psychologist is the GM who is in charge of creating the team. So right there is a bias to where whatever he hears from the player, he has to report to the GM. That's the guy that pays him for his job. So
and you can talk about this confidentiality, but again, if they say, "Hey man, who should we keep and who should we cut?"
Right.
That lens is going for that individual compared to, "Hey, I'm on the jet. I'm following you all season long. I'm there for you. I can go to the GM and advocate for you. I can go to the team owner and advocate for you because I know, or say, well, maybe this is not a good fit, So that's something I just put out there. But let's stay with that, man. It's almost like these two are connected. Ballers Page, we appreciate you in that great question. And also, Roger, we're going to transition right over to the next topic that's right on deck. And that's referring to, I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. We got the bosses sitting around the table. Is KD trying to kick Kyrie out? They said that KD took them long legs and he walked upstairs, Orlando, to management to talk about this situation. But we're getting some news that may not be the case. Now, the Nets said, look, Kyrie, first of all, they said they're not going to extend him, first of all. And secondly, they say, look, man, we're not dealing with this. You just go play on the road. If you can't come and be a part of this, it's going to be a problem. So here's what I say before I open up to you guys. We got a comment that's on deck right now. Tay-Tay in the building. Tay-Tay said, hey, fellas, Kyrie said he is not retiring. So what do you all do what do you do if you're the Nets? Right. He's a killer on the court. But she gave me a butt with about 7 T's. She's like, but he's standing by his word for now. And why does Kyrie always be in the drama? Tay-Tay, give me a virtual hug. I appreciate you coming and dropping. And also, we got another lovely lady, my mother. Hello, gentlemen. So be careful what you say. She gonna come back around, Mama. We appreciate you. Can't wait to see you this Saturday at the SPS Star Showcase in Lansing with the crew. But let's stay with what Tay-Tay put out there. Tay-Tay is like, hey, Tay-Tay keeping it all the way 100. We should have our keeping it 100 section, and Tay-Tay come in with her statement. She said, look, he always in the drama. He's standing by his word. Here's the thing. The reason why I'm saying this is a PR issue, guys, it's because COVID has become one of those third rail type issues. When I say third rail, they talk about the third rail, that's the electrical part. That's the thing that'll get you electrocuted if you on the subway. It ain't the first one to say, it's that third one. Don't touch the third rail. And he has moved to a third rail topic. Let me tell you what my mom and I talk about with Kyrie and what I feel. And I'm putting my sports psychology consultant hat on. Kyrie has forever lived in the shadow of the true superstars in the NBA, i.e. LeBron James, James Harden, and now Kevin Durant. Perfect example. This may sound minor, but I think it's something to it. When the Cleveland Cavaliers won the national championship, the NBA championship, and our buddy JR, who I'm going to be having a panel discussion in Kalamazoo on Sunday about, when our buddy JR Smith took his shirt off, that was JR's thing. Everybody like, oh, that's JR being JR. But then Kyrie Irvin did it too. So I look at Kyrie Irvin as he's searching for something that will give him a certain kind of status. And the reality is that as great as he is, as much money he's made, one of the best players, USA basketball, Duke basketball, all that, he has not overshadowed these other superstars in the NBA. But guess what? He's being talked about in the news every day right now. I'm at the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning. I look on TV. I see his face. He's starting to make statements now. And now, hook or crook, he's getting that. Orlando, what do you think about that?
I think that Kyrie, at the end of the day, this is a job. And as far as I'm concerned, Kyrie would be looking for a new job at this point.
Hey, pack it up. Pack it up.
Yeah, he would be on the trading block. No question.
Even what about what does the financial? And I don't know the numbers, but I would think that the Nets are pretty much into him pretty heavily. You know, is it one of those cut your losses, or you say we got to get this bread? We got to get.
We hope that somebody else in the league may pick him up. If not, I'm cutting my losses.
Well, I don't
need that type of distraction.
Why would somebody want to pick him up if he's talking about he's not even going to take the shot? Well, really quick, Tina James, thank you, Tina. Kyrie Irvin hit the best shot in Cavs history. He didn't get much love despite killing in that series. He's great, but he's not looked at like a Steph Curry in a good way. Excellent point, and I really would like to underscore your statement about he didn't get much love. I think he may have got as much love as Kyrie Irvin was supposed to get, but he was still under the shadow or in the sun of LeBron. Hoop Baller Scoop is back in the building. Hoop Baller Scoop, what's good? Didn't Kyrie take 2 weeks off last season without telling me?
Yep.
Hey, go ahead, Terry. Terry was down his head like,
he didn't tell anybody.
What you got, Terry?
No, I was gonna say, you know, through that whole situation, I mean, Kyrie did post and had a video saying he's not retiring. Don't believe what you see. No, that what I think Kyrie's doing right now, he's trying to be so secretive, kind of like low key, not gonna tell anybody anything. But I think Kyrie, when he's hesitant of the vaccine, and I think that he's researching on which one he's gonna get. I do believe that Kyrie's gonna get the vaccine and end up playing, whether it's a week before or it's a week after the regular season starts. I think Kyrie's gonna get the vaccine, but I think right now he doesn't want to admit that he's researching which one he's gonna pick just based off the fact he's gonna retire.
I have to interrupt. I'm gonna yield back to you. You're gonna continue to have the floor. Researching the vaccine. We still talking about, like, I feel like Allen Iverson practice. We still talking about researching. My mama on her third shot, and you talk about researching.
And I'm the same one. I got 3 in me. I'm fine to keep it moving.
I know. It's. I mean, another thing too. I think Kyrie may also be. My dad brought up this point. Kyrie may also be a Hebrew Israelite, and they don't believe in vaccines at all.
Okay,
so it's like
Terry McCord.
That's something that, you know, because Kyrie has said that he comes out, he posts a lot of things religiously, spiritually, and that's a spiritual pathway that he's been on recently. Hebrew Israelite beliefs.
But Terry, I'm gonna stay with you. And thank you for bringing these points, and we appreciate your dad as well. But let me be devil's advocate. He's not saying I'm not taking the shot because of religious reasons.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
He's saying I'm being the voice of the voiceless. Who the hell is the voiceless at this point? I think to Tina James' point, she was on it, that Kyrie is not getting the love he feels he's supposed to get. And they say sometimes, man, any news, good or bad, is always good. If my name is in the news, just spell my name right. And now Kyrie is getting that. Kyrie, since he left Cleveland, has had issue after issue. He dogged Ty Lue when he left Cleveland. I'm still pissed about that.
Yeah.
He made the reference to Ty's intelligence, and he just praised Brad Stevens. I got no beef with Brad Stevens. I got no beef with him. But he just praised Brad Stevens, and they fell on their face. Yeah. And then you come over here, help cajole Kevin Durant to come to the Brooklyn Nets, which he did. And then you get ready to pull out on him. I just think that, man, Kyrie know that he's probably reached a athletic ceiling in the NBA. And no matter what he does, he's never going to be on Mount Rushmore. And I don't know who said it. My mom brought it up, but somebody had the nerve, the audacity to try to compare him to Muhammad Ali. And I got a problem with that. Whoa. And let me say this lastly. I like Kyrie Irvin. I ain't tripping on Kyrie. But just like you got some friends who you say he can't go with us tonight, or he can't, don't call him for that. Right now, Kyrie, that ain't it. But Hoop Baller Scoop say he gonna play after 5 games. That mean he gonna take the shot in 5 games? That's what we saying?
I think he'll finally
Yeah, no, Hoop Baller Scoop saying he gonna be played. It may be in the G League somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, but that's so much money. Women's basketball in the building. Thank you for always keeping us updated with the WNBA and everything that's happening. Let me ask this. Will this put a little damage on Kyrie and Kevin's relationship? Here's the thing.
It will.
There's Kevin Durant always have irreparable relationships with people. Whether it's his fault or not, Kevin come to play that basketball game and move on to the next. Because Kevin know he always moving on. Because guess what? Kevin is the equivalent of the beauty queen in high school. She knows she go get a date. Now, she may be looking different a couple years after high school, if you know what I mean, Orlando. But she already knows she go get a date. She the belle of the ball. What did my mom say? Oh, yeah. My mom said Kyrie is not Ali or Kaepernick. He is not an activist. And I have to agree with that, man. I just think that if Molly Curran, Jalen Rose's wife, she made a good point. She said, what's your body of work, man? We don't even know your voice. You know what I'm saying? And arguing against Hoop Baller Scoop, supposedly Jamel Hill, and I using my mom as a source on that, stated that Kyrie go double down. So while we saying 5 games, he'll be back, he'll take the shot. The Kyrie will double down. And I'll just throw this out there. You wonder if there is some type of chemical imbalance that will suggest why his behavior is the way it is. And this is me just putting something out there because it seems like his behavior, going all the way back to his world is flat theory. Remember that?
Yeah.
When Kyrie getting this, what you say, Orlando? Yeah.
That's a Hebrew Israelite belief right there. So that's
okay,
what I'm like.
But you know what I'm gonna need, Terry? I'm gonna need you to say that is for religion. Own it.
I hope. I want him to, because then it makes
I'm just saying, own it. If that's what it is, say what it is, but you can't be playing around with it. We got a great thing going on right here, man. I appreciate that. We're going to keep it moving, and I am going to take some journalistic liberty. I'm going to take some entrepreneurial liberty. I'm going to take the liberty that is my damn show. So with that being said, next topic is John Chucky Gruden last play. And I know from an age standpoint, a lot of people may not get the whole Chucky connection, but John Gruden has often been called Chucky. Now, let me tell you why I was taking some liberty by doing this, because the reason why he ended up resigning was because of inappropriate statements he made about African-American leadership. DeMaurice Smith, I'll just say it, said his lips were as big as Michelin tires. You know what? I take it back, because I don't think that's the reason he resigned. It was the homophobic comments that he made.
It was. That
once that came out. So you can talk about a black man's lips being big as Michelin tires and still be straight. But when you start talking about the LGBTQ community, you have issues. I ain't going to make this a Dave Chappelle topic right now.
Well, come on, let's talk about it.
Let's talk. I mean, it is what it is. And then here's the real killer. The real stinger is he resigned. He wasn't fired. There's something to be said about language. There's something to be said about the way you're walked out of the door. I mean, resigning is like not a perp walk. When your ass get fired, that's a different thing. But John Gruden has been, part of the privileged elite with this, for years and years. That's why he was able to sit around ESPN, which it seemed like for an eternity. Now, I got to admit, I was a big fan of John Gruden's quarterback show. I love that. And that was a sports psychologist.
Camp,
yeah. I love that. I can't take that away from him. But, to Bill Rhoden's point, an excellent, writer, very conscious. He said, John Gruden's gone, but let's find the people who enabled him, who empowered him. That's just one person out the door. He had to be talking to somebody. Or what did the people say that he emailed that to? Terry, what you think about this whole John Gruden thing in Chucky's last play?
I think my thoughts are a lot of the sports fans that aren't really agreeing with the whole quote unquote cancel culture, which cancel culture has so many different perspectives and views. I'm not 100% on cancel culture, but I think right here isn't cancel culture. I think it's just the whole world holding him accountable of this whole body of work that he's been doing for so long that's finally put to the light. I'm a firm believer in what you do in the darkness will eventually come out in the light. And in someone's character, what they do behind the scenes, how they speak, whether it's with their family, that stuff is going to eventually come to the light. And so right here, Gruden, with all these people starting to say now, oh, I've always never really liked Gruden, blah, blah. I feel like if they were to make that point before all this happened, they'll be labeled a hater. Or what is he talking about? Or he just hating on John Gruden. His team's doing good right now. He's problematic. But now we're starting to see all that stuff come up, which is why I think the Raiders were going to eventually fire him, in my opinion. I think the Raiders were going to fire him. But I think John Gruden, protecting his brand, protecting his pride, resigned as a way of saying, oh, I'm going to be the bigger person. I don't want to be a distraction. Knowing that he was going to be out probably the next few days because they were working away how we going to pay him still, because they still got to pay him, sadly, because he's on that contract. But I think it was his way to save his pride. Let me ask you this before we go to Orlando. If John Gruden's Raiders were undefeated, will we be having this discussion right now? I feel like with because his team started 3-0. His team was really good. They beat the Ravens, beat the Steelers, and they're rolling. But I do think that because of this generation, how we're holding everybody accountable, no matter what, a lot of is the LGBTQ community speaking up so high now, and now members of of our Black community, we're speaking up now. We're not playing any of this. I do think that no matter if they were undefeated or if they were 0 whatever, because Urban Meyer was going to be on his way out for messing with that college girl. So it's like we're at a point now in this generation where political correctness, I'm not even going to call it political correctness, doing the right thing.
Decency.
Is important. Yeah, it's like doing the right thing is so important, and it should be. We're holding them accountable. They are NFL coaches are the face of the franchise, and they're looked at as leaders, not even in the sports world, but like the world in general. So I think we're holding these leaders, that we put them on a pedestal. Same with these athletes. They should be held accountable like how high we put them.
Yeah. Orlando, when I woke up, I want to say it was on Monday, to the news of him being let go. Keyshawn was going in. When I say Keyshawn was going in, he was going in. It was he had a level of passion, guys, that made him being there so important already. Because he was like, I told y'all, I've been telling y'all. And he was just like, it was all, I don't know, he must have been, he was out of studio, so he was on the phone. And it probably was best, because that was the only thing that was going to contain it, because had he been in the studio. But I could just appreciate Keyshawn being like, I've been telling y'all about this guy the whole time. And it was just so cool, not because John Gruden got aired out, but just hearing somebody who real enough to be able to say, look, man, and he made an excellent point. I go to you, Orlando. He said they reached out to, I believe, the first-year running back as well as quarterback to ask their opinion. And their opinions were very middle of the road, not accusatory. And Key made a good point. He said, man, don't ask him. Ask somebody who on their second contract. Don't like John Gruden drafted that guy. What do you think he gonna say? He said, go in the locker room, ask somebody who don't got nothing to lose. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was a good point. Orlando, what do you think about this whole Gruden situation in Chucky's last play?
I think earlier you made, and I hate to bring it up, but one, if we had a chance to go through all of the coaches' emails in the NFL,
oh man,
we probably lose 70% of the coaches that are coaching right now in the NFL. And the second part is, and this is where when you mentioned Dave Chappelle, and I said you got to talk about it, let's really talk about it, because if it was just racial issues, he'd still be coaching right now.
He'll be going to have sensitivity training.
That's it. He'd be coaching right now, but he stepped into the LGBTQ realm and it was over.
Wow.
Immediately. And he knew it was over. And instead of taking that hit that he was going to get from that community, he decided to step. But I guarantee you, if it was a racial and he calling somebody the N-word or referring to his slaves out on the field, which I'm sure is done in these emails, he'd still be coaching today.
Well, and to that point, Orlando, you make an excellent point, because up until the point that he was being really cavalier about, I ain't going to talk about it no more.
Right.
Like, I ain't talking about this no more. So he can say that when it comes to issues of race and being racially insensitive and being racist. But you touch that LGBT, that's a third rail like no other. But
let me say like that. I'm not mad at him. I'm jealous. Because the point is how there's a movement like that. As African Americans, we've been struggling for years. And the power that this community has is unreal. It's absolutely unreal.
Well, I mean, again, Tara, have you seen the Dave Chappelle special?
I've seen it a little bit. I've seen it.
You gotta watch it.
I've seen the clip of what are y'all talking about.
I think that, and I'm not even just saying to be saying, I think that special that transcript can become a college course on pop culture and dealing with those things. And to Orlando's point, I'm not mad at them. I'm jealous because the duality of it. We're kind of straying topics, but it's part of the same. It's duality of LGBTQs can occupy two spaces. The minority of being, of whether it's being a homosexual, being lesbian, transgender, and if I forget it, some other type of references, meant no disrespect.
The privileged Caucasian.
Come on, man. And bring it back home. Because you can be like, oh, you could be the minority, but then you could turn around and be a white person calling the police. And to be able to flip back and forth. And that was what Dave Chappelle's question was. He said, can gay people be racist? And there was a resounding hell yes. And my mama said, Terry McCoy said, say it. Right on time. My mom said racist secondary. Chappelle laid it out. He said what we know. Yeah. Well, that's part of what we're dealing with, man. And all right, here's my question. Where will John Gruden rear his head? Because he got to rear his head somewhere. I mean, is he completely canceled out? Is he going to end up coaching? Or he like, I don't care.
He may be competing against us with a podcast shortly.
Yeah. And then there's the other part, too. His ego is not going to allow him to stay out of the way. It just won't. And if he does have a podcast, is he going to become political? Is he going to get to talking politics? Is he going to be anti-cancel culture? Or is he going to just lay back, count his bread, and keep quiet and come up and say I was wrong and work his way back in? I see his ego being too big to allow that. But
that's way too big. And to be quite honest, he wasn't a bad commentator. So I see podcasts in the future.
Podcasts on the independent network. I mean, but them sponsors.
He got enough bread to bankroll it himself. He may get those sponsors now.
Yeah,
he's still getting paid.
Yeah, we're gonna see. Well, let's take a quick break. We want to show again love to my guy Horatio Williams. If you met Horatio, you can't do nothing but love him. Shout out to Horatio Williams and the Horatio Williams Foundation. Gilead Sciences for all the great work they're doing, and also Dick's Sporting Good. And with that, guys, we're gonna keep rolling through this. This has been a really good show, very entertaining. You got people running to go check out Dave Chappelle's final show that we know of. But Terry, we got something for you, something special for you. We're talking about getting caught up on some college football. I know you've been licking your chops, as Mr. Wilson says, the savant. So what we want to do is talk about Week 6 college football, and down goes Bama. Down goes Bama. For the first time, a Nick Saban protege, assistant coach with Nick Saban, has beat Nick Saban's Alabama team. That's Jimbo Fisher after 24 go-rounds. Terry, you know what? I know you got a lot to say about that. Orlando, what do you think about Alabama going down? I mean, did you see it coming? Do we start, saying this is the beginning of the end of the dynasty? I mean, you can only stay on top for so long, so on and so forth. What do you think, Orlando?
I'm going to be very brief in my statement. I'm just going to say this. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. It was bound to happen. You know what I'm saying? You can't consider this team to be that invulnerable. It was bound to happen, and I don't think it's anything to panic. I think this team will still go on for years as the dynasty that they are, but you can't win them all.
No, as much as we get used to that, you cannot. And boy, I feel for that particular team, because guess what? You know how that goes. Everybody that come back, like, damn, y'all the ones that lost. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll forever be a part of it. The only way they can make it up, is to run the table, Terry, and go ahead and get that chip and let Nick hold that up again one more time, that crystal football. But with that, let's get your thoughts on Alabama losing to Texas A&M. But more importantly, let's get that Week 6 recap that you do so well.
Yeah, I'm going to be quick and brief. So that Alabama game I thought was fairly interesting, because I thought Texas A&M would be able to get that game in the beginning of the season. I just thought that A&M would have had a better record and would have still have been a top team in the nation. I didn't expect A&M to lose to Arkansas. I didn't expect them to lose to the teams that they lost to. I expected that loss to be a better loss, so then Alabama would be able to run the table and maybe get a crack at Georgia, who I figured would be there waiting for them in the SEC championship game. So that's my opinion. It's a bad loss, but that A&M team is still really tough and physical. So on I would say the eye test, it was a good loss, but on paper, it's a bad loss. So that's all really I got to say about that game. But I got to give props to the Big Ten. So I'm going through the list, right? I'm going through the AP Top 25. I'm thinking like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna write down the top 6. I'm gonna add the 4 that would be in the playoffs and the 2 on the outside looking in. I'm writing the list down on the weekend. And I'm like looking like there are 4 Big Ten teams from 6 and down, and they got 5 in the top 10, 4 in the East, 4 in the Big Ten East, 1 in the Big Ten West. And what makes it even more fun is that those 4 teams that are left, the Penn States, the Michigans, the Michigan States, and Ohio State, they haven't played each other yet.
So
what is more to come? These teams that are going to be playing for something. That Paul Bunyan Trophy is not going to be the only thing on the line when Michigan State and Michigan play. Penn State and Ohio State aren't just going to be playing for bragging rights in the recruiting battle. We're talking about playoff football implications. Although Penn State this past weekend lost that heartbreaker at Iowa, that was a tough loss, but that game showed what is more to come in Big Ten football. Now, look, let's take it back a year. I remember when everybody was down in Ohio State, right? Because, one, the Big Ten wasn't as good last year. Look, now we're seeing when the Big Ten, they get their recruits in earlier, they're able to practice a full spring, a full summer. Now we're seeing what the Big Ten can bring when you give us that full year of preparation. We weren't like Alabama. We weren't like the Big 12 and the SEC where they got to play and they already knew they were playing. The Big Ten, just like the high school basketball boys last year, didn't know they were playing until about 3 weeks. So they're like, oh, shoot, get the pads. We about to play. So it's like now we get to see what the Big Ten gets to do. Penn State will be having to look into
Don't look down at your feet, Terry. Don't look down. Keep going.
Keep going. Keep going.
Out of water.
Penn State will be looking to get their quarterback back, which I think definitely could have been a game changer if he was in that last drive, those last 2 drives at Iowa. So big props to the Big Ten for really going in there. And another sleeper, though, this may all be hype. Kentucky, a good team that's still undefeated, making his way up, had a good win against LSU last week. Then that matchup, then versus Georgia, is going to be an interesting one. Maybe Kentucky may give Georgia some trouble. Maybe they catch them slipping just like A&M did Alabama. You never know. College football is such an interesting sport. You get a team on a night, a bad night, a trap game where they played a tough team the week before.
I know. We still got you rolling. We still got you rolling. I know Michigan State is playing Indiana Saturday. Who is Michigan playing?
Michigan, I believe. I don't know off the top of my head. It might be a Maryland. Help me out real quick, but I think.
So
I do know.
Well, both. Are you concerned that this will be a trap game for one of these teams?
I don't think so. Ohio State has that bye this week. Their defense is looking a lot better, getting a pick 6, they're scoring off turnovers, which is really key. It helps the offense out, where CJ Stroud's been playing really well. I think Penn State's going to bounce back, but Penn State needs to get their quarterback, Sean Clifford, back. That's a hard person to lose. He was the heart and face of that team. I think Michigan State will both be undefeated on that day before Halloween matchup.
Michigan must have a bye.
They have a bye.
They might have a bye.
So of course not for them, but I think
the pressure's really on Michigan State not to jack this Indiana game up.
Yeah, and that game's gonna be really good too. Can Michigan State keep it up with their pass game and also open up those holes for Kenneth Walker?
Another question for you. The Michigan State game between those teams, would that be the only loss for one of those teams?
No. In my opinion, no. I don't.
Because the schedule is backloaded. Because their schedules are backloaded.
I would say yes, but I also believe that I do believe that Michigan will lose to Ohio State. I think that if Sean Clifford gets back for Penn State.
Wait. Okay. Will that be Michigan's first loss?
To MSU?
You said Michigan will lose to Ohio State. Is that Michigan's first loss?
No, I think Michigan's going to lose to Michigan State. I think Tucker gets Harbaugh back-to-back. I think East Lansing is going to be rocking, man. I see it.
You hear that, Tuck? He's smiling.
I just feel like Michigan State brings more to the table than Michigan does. Yeah. Michigan runs the ball really well, which we saw Nebraska kind of held to a halt at moments in that game. I think Michigan is pretty one-dimensional right now. And I think that if I had to choose today, what I've seen out of Michigan State defensively pretty well, and them on offense passing and running the ball, I would say Michigan State's the more complete team as of today. And who they played, Michigan State has kind of gave some teams fits, but I think that Michigan State is the more complete team as of right now.
All right, I'm going to stay with you since you're in the zone as Rod so eloquently. I got one for him, Orlando. Here's a good one. Mm-hmm. One of these has to be true.
Okay.
Kenneth Walker III wins the Heisman. Michigan State goes undefeated.
One of them has to be true?
One of them has to be true.
Okay. I think if I had...
Wait. One has to be true and tell me why it's true.
If one has to be true?
And tell me why it's true. I'm on him, Orlando. I'm going to see what we can get.
He's going to give you that answer.
I think so. I would probably say Kenneth Walker winning Heisman only because he's been getting his name out there, which Heisman, it does take a lot of hype. You got to get those highlights.
It's a campaign that has to go on, too.
It is. It's got to be a year. It's got to be a year-long campaign. Usually that starts in the offseason, but Kenneth Walker has been so explosive. He's up there in the tops for yards after contact. He's making these great plans, shifty cut direction plays that keeps him. It's hard to keep him out of the highlights of the game.
He dapping up his teammates going into the end zone.
I just think that Kenneth Walker winning Heisman because his odds are up there. He's in the top 5 of odds right now. But I think if Michigan State were to run the table in the regular season, I'm not sure if they beat Iowa though. Iowa. And I got to apologize. I've been on this podcast doubting Iowa's ability too long enough. It's like Kurt Ferentz is hearing me by word right now every week.
He's like, keep talking, Terry. He listens to the podcast. He's like, keep talking, Terry.
I doubted them against Maryland. They routed Maryland. Talk about a beatdown. Then I was like, maybe Penn State gets them. They got the speed on them. Iowa proves me again. Look, Iowa is just a team. It's like every 3 years they put a group of guys together. They gel well. They play the game the right way. They don't get penalties. They remind me of Bob Ryan's Wisconsin basketball teams. They don't foul. They don't commit penalties. Fouls and penalties are about the same. They play fundamentally strong. They run the ball, and then they're going to pop you with a long ball at the end, and they're going to be all you're going to be seeing is booty because they gone there scoring off a 60-yard play action.
Do not keep it close.
So I see Michigan State. I see Kenneth Walker win the Heisman more than them running and being undefeated. My personal opinion right now.
Orlando, what do you say to that? I won't say how do you follow that, but what do you say to that after, as Rod so eloquently, we were in the T zone at the time. What do you say to that?
I'm amazed. I just want to sit back and listen. Just the wealth of knowledge is incredible. It's an incredible job being done here.
It is. You do a great job, and we appreciate that. Some things to look for. What an exciting time, and nobody was really expecting it. Again, we thank our sponsors to allow us to do what we do, but let's just keep it going, man. Talk a little WNBA basketball. We got some the WNBA Finals going on. Shout out to the women who really represent and get out there at the Mercury versus the Sky.
It's 7 o'clock.
And it is 7 o'clock, and we're going to keep going. With that being said, what do we see this outcome being, Orlando? What do you think about this? I mean, you're a girls coach. You know how that go down. What are you thinking?
Jeez. You know, it's hard. I want to say I'm a Chicago guy. So, I'm hoping and praying. Who is it? What is Tate? That's
Brandon. Tate's coming. I got Tate on.
Coming. Okay.
Brandon,
I just have to really kind of throw my support behind Chicago, no matter what.
That's fine. 4 hours from the D.
It's 4 hours. And I really was trying to make a game this year.
Yeah.
But, other than that, I really haven't had time to really sit and dig outside of just reading here and there, but I'm gonna take a chance and just say no matter what's happening, put your money on Chicago, FanDuel, DraftKings, wherever you're at.
Well, I'm gonna read Brandon's comment, but Tay feeling a certain way. I'm gonna tell you what Tay had to say. But Brandon Earl says WNBA Finals been great. The Sky stole Game 1. Cooper Parker balled out, but you don't want to blame refs. But they wasn't gonna let Diana, the darling, go down 0-2. And she pushed the ref. Wow, the drama. Tay got something to say. Tay said Chicago was cheated in Game 2. The WNBA announced Diana Taurasi as a WNBA GOAT. I think it's Cynthia Cooper, actually. I feel you. But the fans voted the GOAT, so they're going to vote the recent players, right? She definitely a GOAT. My pops always say Cheryl Miller is the best player. They say Cheryl Miller would be beating dudes.
Yeah.
You know? Also,
Yeah,
Tay had a follow-up, and I'm going to get you in a second, Terry. She said, Candace Parker in the playoffs all-time ranks 4th in points, 3rd in rebound, 8th in assists, 3rd in steals, 3rd in blocks. Dang, Tay. You give us a pro stat line. What's up? We got to get you as our WNBA correspondent to the SPS Edge Show. We appreciate it, Tay. So, what are you thinking, Terry, about this? You know, Orlando talk about his love for Chicago. You can't hold Chicago up, and we appreciate it. What are you thinking, Terry?
No, it's a series tie 1-1. They play 5 games, so game 3, whenever you split it, is very important because it puts you up that 1, and it kind of puts pressure on the other team. But Chicago did steal home court advantage by winning that first game. But I think I want to point out something. So everybody's looking at the Taurasi versus Parker, obviously 2 of the top players to ever play in that league. But I think my X factors, which I love the X factors in the NBA, in the WNBA Finals, Diamond DeShields and Azurá Stevens, I believe, are the X factors for Chicago. DeShields is a very good combo guard to me. Azurá Stevens, with her length and being able to guard Brittany Griner, who's my X factor for Phoenix, her and Skylar Diggins-Smith. I think all the eyes are going to be – Brittany Griner is someone that's so interesting because she's probably the most interesting X factor, only because there are moments where Brittany Griner can look like she's the best player in the whole entire league. And then there's moments where it's like, man, you missing layups. You're 6'8", 6'7". It's almost like, it's like, how? You know, I'm watching the game. It's just like, how do you miss? You're so tall. But look, that's why I give Phoenix the nod in this series because, one, Taurasi's a beast, total beast. Skylar Diggins-Smith, such a great combo guard as well. She complements Taurasi as well because she can score the ball, then also set Taurasi up. And I think Griner is just the cherry on top. She's so dominant. And we got to give her credit. She's so dominant. She's hard to guard. I believe she scored 29 in the last game. It's just like, it's so hard to guard that because, one, she's so tall. She's so dominant, not just tall, and she's so physical. I think Chicago just has to get her in foul trouble, hopefully, get her out of the game, and then dominate in the inside because Brittany Griner's all they got in there. But I got to give the nod to the Mercury right now just because of what all they can bring together. I think it'll go 5 games, in my opinion. They'll be back in Phoenix for game 5.
I love it. Shout out to Hoop Baller Scoop in the building. He said we got to give Brittany Griner credit. She's been a dominant player in the playoffs. Yeah, man, those X factors are very important, man. It's something to watch out. I'm just so happy that the league is balling like that. Yeah, you're right. Hoop Baller Scoop said the refs are a huge factor, but we all know, how do you get the refs out of the game? You got to make it clear. That's like when they got to go to the camera and look down and see if your toes touch the line. That's why they teach you those shooting drills, man. Take a step back so it's clear. You can't let it be close because to Tay-Tay's point as well, that's when the Brandon's point, that's when the politics can get involved. That's when you're giving them a chance. Let's face it, man. At the end of the day, Diana Taurasi winning a WNBA championship is better for the league. That's a horrible thing to say, some may say, but it's better for the league in the sense that she'll get, her praises and whatnot, and they can always say, Candace, you can come back and get another one. It's almost like the tragedy of 9/11 when they were hoping that the Yankees can win the World Series, but they were like, no bet. Just because y'all had a tragedy, the world suffered a tragedy, it's not going to happen. But it'd be something to see, man. But I'm just excited as far as where things are with what's happening. Let me ask, is Diana y'all the GOAT? No. I don't know what y'all think. Are we giving her a GOAT status? Hey, she been doing the Hoop Baller Scoop.
Top 5, maybe.
Who is the GOAT? That's going to be next week's topic. Next week is
you got so many. You got Lisa Leslie. You got so many.
Well, you know what we got to do. Remember when we had the whole thing, who makes it to the VIP club and why? So we'll make next week's topic, who is the WNBA GOAT and why? And it could be whatever reason that you can back up a Hoop Baller Scoop. Thank you for that question. That's going to be one of our questions for next week. So with that, guys, we can just keep moving from the WNBA it was so cool. My daughter, we were watching TV last night, and she said, "Daddy, what is W for NBA?" I said, "That's the Women's National Basketball Association."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Shout out to my daughter Madeline. She'll be blushing right now if she knew I was saying her name. So let's get to the NFL. Talk about what's been happening in the NFL. And I guess what we can do to kind of bring this all together as we just got past the hour mark. I want to look at one more comment that we got. What did Hoop Baller Scoop say? He said, see, it's WNBA GOAT and then overall GOAT. Because Cheryl Miller and Teresa, that was playing in the WNBA.
Right.
That's such a fact. That's so hard.
Yeah.
Very good. Scoop. You are really putting your glasses on and looking down. You're being very professorial. Very well. And that statement can still be made because people will go back and see people. They said, what did they say? Reggie Miller said he would go out on the court in California and they wouldn't even and Cheryl would hide in the bushes. And he would pick the team because if they knew Cheryl was out there, they didn't even want to play her. And she'd come out and dominate them just like that. And I think she was talking trash too. But that's a good point, Hoop Baller Scoop. But we're going to go to the NFL. I just want to talk about the top NFL receivers. I mean, we can talk about what's been going on this week, but we got in this visual we got Randy Moss, we got, and you know what I almost wanted to say? Minus Jerry Rice. I almost wanted to say like Jerry Rice. No. This is not taking anything away from his GOAT status, but I almost want to say bump Jerry Rice to give somebody else a chance to get up there because Jerry Rice. I'll just say this going out the gate. I mean, come on, man. All right. Here's a good one, and we need Aaron to chime in. You know, Aaron good with this.
With his list.
Yeah, exactly. Is it possible somebody can rank higher than Jerry Rice as the best receiver in the NFL? I got a no from Terry. What you think, Orlando? Is it possible somebody can top him as number one on the list? Now I know you're really good, Orlando, with being devil's advocate and getting into the weeds and seeing it from a different point. But your silence kind of concerns me. Like I never had you silent that long pondering something.
You know, if you really look at it, I mean, if you look at, you know, a lot of it, we kind of think of modern day. You know, if you want to go back a bit and you could get your, what about if you say like, oh, Jesus, Lynn Swann.
Ooh. Now are we saying now what's the and Brandon Earl, excellent. We love what you said. We will definitely end the show with that. Brandon says before y'all end the show, maybe at the end, the NBA season starts before your next show. I wanted to ask your preseason MVP, finals predictions in the winter. Get to it before y'all get off. Great show, Brandon. We will honor that, and in some way or form, we'll respond. So the human brain is amazing. We can focus on multiple things at one time. So we'll end with that. But you know. I guess it comes back to what the real criteria is. I know Jerry Rice, man. He just been, man. Come on, man. He just
Randy Moss.
Well,
maybe
better. Well, okay. I guess the caveat would be what's the definition of what's better, and what justifies the number one spot. And then we got Megatron. What if Megatron? We could say
he's top 10. He's got to be top 10.
Well, I'm just saying, what if he was able to extend his career longer with the Lions? Poe Fella, him, and we had the best running back and wide receiver. Terry, let me just go to you. What's your take on this? And I don't know, Terry, do you want to take a pause and talk NFL overall, or do you want to get into this? I just like the idea of talking about these receivers.
I mean, I just think that Jerry Rice is the best because I feel like that matchup when he went against the best cornerback with Deion Sanders, that just intrigued me so much. It was just like the best of the best are going at it. And it's like, it's hard not to say Jerry Rice because one, he can do both. He's going to catch everything. And then his run after catch, like he was so quick and knew how to run the ball. I think that's something that nowadays we take for granted today. Everybody today wants to do all this juking and, oh, I made him fall, but you got 2 yards when you could have got 10 yards after the catch. Like Jerry Rice knew how to run with the ball. It's finding those gaps, hitting the gaps hard and running straight through them instead of trying to juke him and tippy toe in them. He just could do both. And it didn't matter how you guarded him. He was going to get it no matter what. And I think what hurts him sometimes as well is that Joe Montana was his quarterback. And I would say arguably both of that, it's a double standard for – not a double standard, but I think you could say the same argument for both. I would say Joe Montana, what hurts his legacy a little bit from experts is that, well, he had Jerry Rice, the best receiver ever. And then for him, it'd be like, well, he had Joe Montana throwing him the ball. But I do believe, and it might be a little biased for me, that the receiver, with how the league was so physical back then, it didn't matter for Jerry Rice. He's running these slant routes, out routes. He's in the mix. He's not running these new developed routes that we see today. I just think that Jerry Rice, no matter what era, he was going to be effective.
Yeah. And I think there's another part that, to me, makes Jerry Rice great. One thing is hands. I mean, he literally has bricklayer hands. He grew up where his dad would throw him bricks, and he was literally catching bricks with his hand. Can you imagine any kid, Orlando, in 2021, or any young adult catching bricks? They're called CPS. And his dad said, if you drop them bricks, man, we're going to have a problem. One was them hands. Go ahead, Orlando. What you got?
I gave you a tip. No, with the hands. I remember being in the back of Northwestern with my post players throwing eggs at them and try to give them that soft hand. They had to bring that ball in with that.
That's that old school. And then on top of his hands, his work ethic. Every pass he caught in practice, he took it to the house.
Right.
His mindset, his mentality was that. I mean, he just set a great standard. And, it's unfortunate. We don't think of Jerry Rice when he was with the Raiders, towards the latter part of his career, even with the Seahawks. And it's almost like, when do you say enough is enough? It's almost like, do you have a career Jerry Rice has with a few extra years that probably you didn't have to have, or do you end it unceremoniously like Calvin Johnson did, and you being that, you just really run.
It's that long career that kind of helps, because if you look at like through the 90s, and I'm gonna ask Terry, really, I mean, say like that was comparative then, and if it wasn't for Jerry, he probably would have been the most dominant wide receiver, would be Chris Carter.
Yeah.
Ohio
State.
Yeah. He had to go to Ohio State. But I mean, if you know what I'm saying, it's the longevity. It's so many factors that goes into him being the GOAT.
Yeah, I get it.
And I don't think you can find a list out there that does not name him number one.
Can you guys name? I agree with that. Can you guys name someone who is one of the top receivers in the NFL that people underappreciate, don't say enough about?
Art Monk.
Art Monk. Wow, that's a name you haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, that's
Art Monk, Orlando.
3 Super Bowls, 3 different QBs.
That's a good point.
Ooh. Okay, I feel you. Terry, you got anybody else we need to keep in mind?
I would say Antonio Brown.
AB, baby.
I think Antonio Brown is top 10 for me. I mean, another guy, undersized, under-recruited, went to Central Michigan about an hour from Lansing, Mount Pleasant, a guy that could just do both.
You know what they said? He showed up at Central Michigan from Florida with a garbage bag with his stuff in it. All he had was a garbage bag.
Dude, just an underdog,
baby.
Right.
It didn't matter for him.
Michael Irvin.
Why don't we hear Michael's name like that being a great receiver, which he absolutely was? Why don't we hear it ring like that? And why do you have to say his name in this context, Orlando?
Everybody hates Dallas.
Okay. Yeah. Except Cowboy fans.
Right.
Except Cowboy. What you got? My guy growing up was Drew Pearson.
Okay.
You guys remember Drew? Remind me Drew Pearson.
Let me see. I've heard the name before.
Rob, remind us of Drew Pearson. I want to be able to respond intelligently to that statement. Women's basketball, she shot back real quick. I challenge you all, ESP young fella, especially young fella, look up and do some research on Cheryl Miller. Oh yeah, Teresa Edwards, Katrina McClain, Lynette Woodard. But I asked y'all to come back next week to top 10. Okay, we're gonna work on the GOAT. That's good stuff. We're gonna work on the GOAT. And also gave us a huge compliment. Great show. It's growing weekly. Now we appreciate a great show because of you, women's basketball, chiming in all the time. What off-field issues for Mr. Irvin? Yeah, and it's hard to really divorce those things, Roderick, when you think about all those other things that happen. And to Orlando's point, well, let's get the people what they want. Shout out to Brandon Earl. with the special request, we can handle that. Before y'all end the show, maybe at the end, the NBA season starts before the next show. Wanted to get your preseason MVP, finals predictions, and the winner. I'll tell you real quick. LeBron and the Lakers, baby. I give it to LeBron James. He's been sitting back, and he's almost like the Jerry Rice of basketball, meaning he gets penalized for being great. He gets penalized for being successful season in and season out. They got this new crew. They got Melo in the building. They got Melo is officially a Laker because he did this when he grabbed the rebound. He said, "Give me that gun here." You know what he said? You know, he did his ceremonial statement. I'm going with the Lake Show, baby. I'll just say that, and I'll be comfortable with it. I just ride it. I'll go with the Lake Show. I think already there's a long NBA season, but there's a very good chance that there could be some irreparable harm that's taking place with the Brooklyn Nets. Because Kyrie, come on, man. Come on, dog. We're trying to win the championship, man. Come on, man. Do what you got. Come on, man. Is it about the team or about you?
About him.
You know what I'm saying? And see, those are the type of things that make you really give him the side eye. Because you ain't saying you're not taking a shot with your NBA championship ring on, not from Brooklyn. You saying that after y'all done fell short, and here you come with this again. So that's what I got. I'll go around. Who wants to go next with their thought of preseason MVP? In the finals?
So for me, I would say Luka for MVP, and I have to go with Lakers winning it at all. That's such a fascinating roster for me.
It is. I agree. That's our maturity like that. So okay, but to be let's be
Doncic, I think it's going to be MVP.
I believe it. So here's the question: who are the Lakers defeating in the finals?
Good question. That's a.
I won't even say Lakers in Brooklyn. I can't really say Lakers and I can't really say Lakers in Milwaukee. I gotta say something like it might be like Lakers and the Heat. Kyle Lowry over there.
The Heat is interesting. Is an interesting choice.
Yeah. This could be a hard fight. Terry, what's your thoughts as we get ready to wrap up this show? Great show indeed.
My MVP this year. I think Damian Lillard gets his first one. I don't say that because he's my favorite player. I say that because I think Chauncey Billups and what his blueprint of coming into Portland's team has it all set up for Dame to have such a good individual season. I think he's trying to enlarge Nurk's role on offense. I think before like Terry Stouts did a lot of guard heavy sets. I think with just setting up Nurk a little bit better frees up Dame to have even more of an exploding season this upcoming year. So I do have Dame, but I have the Nets this year losing in the Eastern Conference semis against a team like the Heat or against a team like the Bucks. I have Bucks and Heat, a little bit of action of that in the Eastern Conference Finals. If the Heat all stay healthy, I think that team is a really interesting team. Kyle Lowry is that veteran that can take the Heat over the hump, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's a Lakers Heat Finals, in my opinion. So,
hey, Terry, you responded to this question like you had a whole week to prepare. I thought he just posed the question.
I would say that
he just asked the question, and Terry coming like, "Yeah, man, he come out of his bag with it. Go ahead, man."
I've been watching that preseason games, man. Ever since Hoop was back on, I've been watching the preseason game like it's the regular season. I just like what the Heat bring, and I have the Lakers winning just because I think what Russell Westbrook brings, I think he brings pride. I think he brings tenacity. I think that although he has his issues sometimes on the court, but it's a 7-game series. I think we can get the best out of Westbrook in a 7-game series alongside LeBron, who's the greatest leader, alongside Magic that this league has seen. I think LeBron can turn anybody into a winner.
Yeah, he's definitely done that. Well, with that, guys, it's been another great show. We want to thank women's basketball, Brandon Earl, Hoop Baller, Scoop, my guy, Roderick, Mr. Wilson, Tay Anderson, our WNBA correspondent, as well as, like I said, Brandon Earl, Terry McCord Sr., and my mama, Patricia England, holding us. We appreciate you guys. What you got?
I know we're going over, but I see
James too.
I see Moni Williams down there about the Lakers, old as hell.
Moni came in. I miss Moni. There she go.
Moni.
The Lakers.
It's LA.
I miss the thing.
In LA, if you got enough money, you can buy the cure for anything.
Yeah.
Trust me, there ain't gonna be no injuries. They're gonna buy the cure.
My bad. Let me run through these comments real quick. I apologize, guys. For some reason, I didn't see Roger Staubach and Danny White was his QB. Ooh, you took it back to Staubach. I appreciate you for that, Rod. Moni said Lakers old as hell.
They're gonna stop hating on Bron.
Moni said Nets can win without Kyrie. They so deep.
That's
okay,
true.
Moni.
That's true.
Harden don't show up.
Nets will win 65 games. What women basketball say. I'm sorry, I miss you guys' comments. Don't sleep on the Warriors. It's cool to go with the big man like the Lakers, but watch out for the world. Okay, Ballers Page. I don't know, but we go see. It's gonna be some trash talking with this. Ballers Page also say Westbrook is a non-shooter and turnover machine.
Okay.
Yeah, LeBron is 36. What's up with all this ageism? It ain't racism. It's ageism. Y'all discriminate against people who are older. For the record, if I have it correctly, the Lakers are younger than the Boston Big Three when they came in. Yeah. Like that team ain't. Don't think it's like that, and that's wisdom.
Look here, I played my best ball after 40.
Hey, tell me about it. So did I, but I ended up getting an Achilles rupture. But it went down like it went down. We want to thank everybody for supporting the show again. Shout out to our guy Horatio Williams and the Horatio Williams Foundation and the support they've been providing the SPS Edge Show. Also, shout out to Gilead Sciences and Dick's Sporting Good. So with that, got Terry McCoy Jr., Orlando Watkins, and myself, Lindsey William Huddleston II with SPS. We'll see you guys next time, next week. Number love and keep supporting the show. Peace.